The 15th century was a time of great change in Europe. It was the era of the Renaissance. Italy experienced a flowering of art and science. Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo were pioneers. Their work revolutionized their fields. In Germany, Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press. This invention had a profound impact. It made knowledge more accessible. The printing press spread new ideas across Europe. Spain, meanwhile, underwent its own transformation. The marriage of Queen Isabella of Castile and King Ferdinand of Aragon unified the country. This unification had significant consequences. It ended centuries of division. It also projected Spanish power outward. The monarchs completed the Reconquista, expelling the Moors from Granada. This victory fueled a desire for expansion. Spain set its sights on new lands. The Spanish monarchs were devout Catholics. They saw exploration as a way to spread Christianity. They also sought wealth and power. The Americas, newly discovered by Christopher Columbus, promised both. Columbus, an Italian explorer, had stumbled upon the Caribbean in 1492. He had been searching for a westward route to Asia. His voyages opened up a whole new world to Europe. The Spanish crown wasted no time in claiming these new lands. They sent conquistadors, soldiers and explorers to conquer and Christianize the indigenous populations. The conquistadors were driven by a thirst for gold and glory. They were also motivated by a belief in their own superiority. They saw the indigenous people as savages in need of salvation. The union of Castile and Aragon under Isabella and Ferdinand marked a turning point in Spanish history. The country was now a major power on the European stage. With the Reconquista complete, Spain's focus shifted outward. The monarchs sought to expand their influence and wealth. Exploration and conquest became key strategies. Ferdinand and Isabella were shrewd rulers. They understood the importance of incentives. They offered explorers a share of the riches they found. This policy encouraged exploration. Conquistadors were promised land, titles, and a percentage of any gold or silver discovered. This system, while lucrative for the Spanish crown and its explorers, had devastating consequences for the indigenous populations they encountered. The conquistadors were ruthless in their pursuit of wealth. They exploited the native populations. They forced them into labor. They seized their land and resources. The Spanish crown, eager for its share of the spoils, turned a blind eye to the atrocities committed in its name. The quest for gold and glory fueled a brutal system of colonialism. Despite the violence and exploitation, Spain grew rich from its American colonies. Gold and silver poured into the royal coffers. Spain became the wealthiest and most powerful nation in Europe. This newfound wealth, however, came at a terrible human cost. The indigenous populations of the Americas were decimated by disease, warfare, and forced labor. The allure of riches drew explorers and adventurers to the New World. They came from all walks of life, seeking their fortune. Some were driven by greed, others were motivated by a desire for adventure. Still others saw exploration as a way to escape their past or to make a name for themselves. Whatever their reasons, these explorers played a key role in shaping the course of history. The Spanish crown granted explorers broad powers. They could conquer new lands in the name of the Spanish monarchy. They could claim a portion of any treasure they found. They could also enslave the native populations. These policies, while enriching for Spain, had devastating consequences for the indigenous people. The arrival of the Spanish in the Americas triggered a clash of cultures. The Spanish brought with them their language, their religion, and their diseases. The indigenous populations had no immunity to European diseases like smallpox and measles. These diseases spread like wildfire, decimating entire tribes. The Spanish also used their superior weapons and tactics to conquer the native populations. Horses, firearms, and steel armor gave them a decisive advantage in battle. The conquest of the Americas was a brutal affair. The Spanish, driven by greed and a sense of religious righteousness, inflicted unimaginable suffering on the indigenous populations. Millions died from disease, warfare, and forced labor. The native cultures of the Americas were forever changed by the arrival of the Europeans. To solidify its control over the conquered territories, the Spanish crown implemented the encomienda system in 1503. This system granted Spanish colonists known as encomenderos control over groups of Native Americans. In theory, the encomienda system was designed to protect and Christianize the indigenous populations. In practice, it became a brutal system of forced labor and exploitation. Encomenderos were obligated to provide their indigenous laborers with religious instruction and protection from warring tribes. In return, they were entitled to tribute in the form of labor, goods, or gold. However, the system lacked oversight and was rife with abuse. Many encomenderos treated their indigenous laborers brutally, working them to death in mines and on plantations. The encomienda system fueled the growth of the Spanish colonial economy. Indigenous labor was used to extract vast quantities of gold and silver from mines. It was also used to cultivate cash crops like sugar and tobacco on large plantations. This wealth flowed back to Spain, enriching the crown and its favored subjects. However, the human cost of this economic prosperity was staggering. The encomienda system decimated the indigenous populations of the Americas. Millions died from disease, overwork, and malnutrition. Their traditional ways of life were disrupted, their cultures suppressed. The encomienda system, while officially abolished in the 17th century, left a lasting legacy of inequality and exploitation in Latin America. The exploration of the Americas was not without its risks. Many expeditions ended in disaster, succumbing to disease, starvation, or hostile natives.
One such ill-fated expedition was led by Pánfilo de Narváez. In 1527, Narváez set sail from Spain with a fleet of 5 ships and 600 men. His goal was to explore and conquer Florida, a land rumored to hold vast riches.
The Narváez expedition faced hardship from the outset. Storms battered their ships, forcing them off course. They landed in Florida, far from their intended destination. The expedition was ill-prepared for the challenges of exploration in this new land. They lacked adequate supplies and faced constant attacks from hostile natives. Disease and starvation took a heavy toll on the expedition's ranks.
Among the survivors was Álvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca, the expedition's treasurer. I was a keen observer of the native cultures I encountered. I kept a detailed journal of my experiences, which I later published as La Relación. This work provides a rare first-hand account of the early Spanish explorations in North America and the indigenous cultures that inhabited the region.
As the Narváez expedition dwindled, Cabeza de Vaca and a handful of survivors found themselves shipwrecked on the coast of Texas. They were captured by the Karankawa, a Native American tribe indigenous to the region.
The Karankawa were initially hostile, but we eventually took pity on the haggard Spaniards, offering them food and shelter.
This encounter marked the beginning of Cabeza de Vaca's remarkable 8-year odyssey through the American Southwest.
In those years, I learned more about life and humanity than I ever could have imagined.
You have become one of us, Cabeza de Vaca. You understand our ways now.
Your journey has changed you, and it has changed us too.
Cabeza de Vaca's transformation was profound. He went from being a conqueror to a healer, from an outsider to an accepted member of the tribe.
I see now that our destinies are intertwined. We must learn from each other to survive and thrive.
This new perspective would shape the rest of his life, influencing his actions and his legacy.
The richness of their culture is beyond anything I had ever known. Their traditions, their wisdom, it humbled me.
We have much to teach and much to learn. It is through understanding that we find strength.
Cabeza de Vaca's time with the Native Americans opened his eyes to the depth and complexity of their societies. He witnessed their ceremonies, learned their languages, and embraced their way of life.
Their resilience and ingenuity are truly remarkable. I am honored to have been part of their world.
This experience was a pivotal moment, not just for Cabeza de Vaca, but for the historical narrative of the Spanish conquests.
Upon my return, I will speak of the truth I have seen. The Native Americans are not savages. They are people of great wisdom and spirit.
Cabeza de Vaca became a vocal advocate for the fair treatment of Native Americans. He urged the Spanish crown to recognize their humanity and their rights.
We must change our ways. Conquest should not mean the destruction of cultures, but the sharing of knowledge and respect.
His words were a call for empathy and understanding, a plea for a new kind of relationship between the old world and the new. Cabeza de Vaca's journey left an indelible mark on history. His transformation from conqueror to advocate was a testament to the power of empathy and the human spirit. He showed that even in the most challenging circumstances, understanding and compassion could prevail. His legacy is a reminder that true strength lies in our ability to connect with and learn from one another. And so, Cabeza de Vaca's story continues to inspire, urging us to look beyond our differences and embrace the shared humanity that binds us all.